laying the foundation stone ceremony of Peterhead Library and Arbuthnot Museum. Saturday, the 8th of August 1891, was declared a general holiday in the town of Peterhead, and the inhabitants were encouraged to decorate their houses. According to the Peterhead Sentinel, they responded well, and the main thoroughfares were profusely and effectively decked with bunting, flags, streamers and bannerets. The crowning achievement in the way of decoration was the triumphal arch in Broad Street at the townhouse. It was a threefold arch composed of evergreens. The evergreens were pleasantly relieved by flags, shields and bannerets. Aloft there floated the stars and stripes of the United States, and round the main arch there was emblazoned in bold letters on each side the simple greeting, "Welcome." It rained heavily all forenoon, but as one commentator wrote, the townsfolk proved that enthusiasm in a good cause is weatherproof. By 10 o'clock the streets were thronged. Townsfolk mingled with country visitors who had arrived in immense numbers by the first train. The railway company had not reckoned upon such an enormous influx of country visitors. In the 10:25 a.m. train, the passengers were packed like herrings in a barrel. The mail train due at 11:05 a.m. had to pass 3 stations without stopping because it was so full that not another passenger could be taken on, and a special train had to be dispatched to bring on the disappointed passengers. The ceremony of laying the foundation stone was scheduled for noon. This was preceded by a procession of the various trades in the most spectacular and best arranged parade ever in Peterhead. Representatives of the hammermen, tailors, shoemakers, bakers, weavers, granite workers, slaters, plasterers, masons, joiners and bone mill workers assembled in a field on the east side of Queen Street near the railway station. Led by the band of the 3rd Volunteer Battalion Gordon Highlanders, they proceeded by Queen Street and Broad Street to the Royal Hotel, where the carriages with Mr. and Mrs. Carnegie and other members of the official party joined the procession behind the Provost and magistrates who had assembled in the townhouse. The parade then continued by Chapel Street and Queen Street to the site of the library. The hammermen, comprising blacksmiths, plumbers, gas workers and painters, had transformed a lorry into Vulcan's carriage. One man, impersonating Vulcan, held a thunderbolt and was surrounded by 4 smiths with forge hammers. Another lorry carried a lighted forge with men making horseshoes. The shoemakers proclaimed, "Scotland waves her bonnet blue to welcome happy days," and "Welcome, Carnegie, may thy generous gift increase our knowledge, our happiness and our thrift." Led by a piper, the joiners and cabinet makers displayed the Royal Standard, the Scottish Standard, the Stars and Stripes and the American Eagle. One of their mottos, "Forget not Carnegie," was accompanied by a declaration that knowledge, when rightly used, is the greatest power for good, the largest shield and protection against evil that humanity can have. While some of them worked a circular saw which was mounted on a lorry, others carried specimens of carved wood, with apprentice cabinet makers showing examples of filigree work. After the parade reached the building site and the participants had been suitably positioned among the spectators in the tightly packed streets, the band played the Old Hundredth, and 8 lines of the psalm were sung, led by 2 companies of the Boys' Brigade. After Reverend James Stewart had offered up an impressive prayer, Provost Smith asked Mrs. Carnegie to lay the cornerstone of the building, which had been made possible by her husband's munificence. Mrs. Carnegie carried a bottle containing coins and newspapers to the cavity in the base stone in which it was deposited. When the hole was filled with sand, she applied the trowel to the mortar beneath, with the band playing "O Aw the Airts."
O ah, the airts the wind can blaw, I dearly like the west, for there the bonny lassie lives, the lass that I love best. The wild woods grow and rivers run.
The stone was then lowered 3 times, and Mrs. Carnegie applied the square, the plumb, and the level in true Masonic form, each movement being the signal for renewed cheering. Taking the mallet, she gave the stone 3 taps and declared it well and truly laid. This was followed by pouring in oil, wine, and corn, the last named being contained in a cornucopia beautifully decorated with flowers. The British ensign was unfurled from the summit of a flagstaff which had been erected nearby, giving evidence to the people who were not close enough to see the ceremony that the stone had been laid. The provost called for 3 cheers for Peterhead Free Library, and Mrs. Carnegie was presented with a trowel of silver, chastely engraved and with an ivory handle, with the inscription, "Used by Mrs. Carnegie on the occasion of her laying the foundation stone of Peterhead Free Library buildings, the 8th of August, 1891. The provost hosted a celebration luncheon in the music hall and presented Mrs. Carnegie with a vase model of polished Peterhead granite. Mr. Carnegie then spoke at some length. He extolled the cardinal Scottish virtues of hard work, thrift, a will to succeed, and a commitment, even among the poorest members of the community, to the value of an educated population. 2 years later, on the 12th of October 1893, Peterhead Library and the Arbuthnot Museum opened its doors for the first time.